Welcome back to the Tracy Take. I am your co-host Tyler here with my brother Ryan, and we are going to become our Week 14 NFL picks. But before we get into that, if this is your first time here, welcome. Ryan and I, we love growing our community, and we are happy to have you here. And so hit that subscribe button so you can see when Ryan and I go live or create new content. Also, like this video, share this video. It'll help out with the algorithm, so then we can kind of keep growing our community. And Ryan, let's get into it. We are on the home stretch now. We are on the latter third of the season, 5 weeks left. Also, last week of buys for teams. There are 6 teams that are on a bye this week, which I think is kind of unfair. A little bit. I might be a little biased because the Falcons is one of those teams, but they're not going to make the playoffs anyways. But still a lot of big games. Yeah, especially not after last night. That's heartbreaking. I needed TB12 to not score a touchdown there. But
when are teams going to learn? Sorry, not to interrupt, but when are teams going to learn? If you give the ball to Tom Brady with enough time to go down and score a touchdown to win the game, he's going to do it.
I mean, maybe that game was definitely different. Definitely didn't give off the vibe. Like the Saints the Saints dominated that game for the first 55 minutes of the game. For me, I thought it was just horrible play calling, and also too horrible use of not using your timeouts. As soon as Tampa Bay got in the red zone, Saints should have been calling timeouts. Let's try and preserve clock and shoot. Almost, I have no problem just letting them score. Like if there's 60 seconds left, just let them score. You just need a field goal to win, and like give yourself an opportunity at least.
But it's not like they were lighting it up all night either. Like
they were moving the ball pretty well. I mean, they could have gotten into field goal range, and also Tampa Bay is going to be playing prevent defense as well. Like, I don't think it would have been out of the realm of possibility. But at the end of the day, though, Tom Brady does Tom Brady things. 23 years of essentially just kind of
being the comeback kid.
Yeah. So we'll get into them a little bit later. The Saints are on a bye this week. Before we get into that, let's do a quick recap of where we are at with our yearly standings. Ryan, speaking of comebacks, you're making a comeback here. Mm-hmm. I am only one game up of our overall of our week-to-week challenge. I'm up 6 games to 5 games, and we have 2 ties. And so, and then even overall, I'm only 3 games up overall against you and picking every single game. I'm at 119 picks correct, 74 total, and 2 ties, while you're at 116, 77, and 2. So it's going to be close. And I think this week, actually, as of now, I think we have several games. I think we only have 1 or 2 games maybe where we disagree. 2. Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, you ended up switching. Okay. Well, I'm curious to hear your
we'll get to that
your analysis. So, spoiler alert. It's Ryan's favorite team. So, but we've already gone over the Thursday night game for Thursday. The Raiders versus the Rams. Yeah. Go check that out. We did it in our recap towards the end of our recap video last night. If you're a Las Vegas fan, spoiler alert, you will like what Ryan and I have to say. So let's kind of move on now to the Sunday games. We are discussing the first one, the New York Jets versus the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah.
I've kind of said this before of the past couple, and I don't know how to feel about Mike White. I think the Jets are definitely kind of almost trying out this quarterback situation to kind of see what's going on, which kind of direction they want to go, if they want to stick with Mike White or stick with Zach Wilson, because it's definitely going to be a very interesting decision because Zach Wilson's only been around for 2 years. So
yeah, I don't even think he's played 16 games yet.
No, he missed.
He missed
a little less than
last
half.
Year, and
or was it a half?
6 games this year. He's missed 14 games.
And it seems like he's going to miss the rest of the season as long as Mike White keeps making it close. But for me, I just think that they're still a little too inconsistent on the offensive side of the ball. And also, too, with Breece Hall being out, season-long injury, Michael Carter seems banged up. I mean, they have good, but they seem really banged up overall on the offensive side of the ball, and aren't consistent enough passing the ball. Where to me, I'm going to lean with the Bills.
Yeah, I'm leaning with the Bills too. On the flip side of that, the Bills defense, they got Tremaine Edmonds, Jordan Phillips, and one other key defensive starter back, whose name is escaping me at the moment.
Is it?
And
did you say Ed Oliver?
No, I did not say Ed Oliver. That's who I'm thinking of. Okay. But their defense is getting healthier. They, even with all those injuries, were able to maintain the third best defense in the NFL.
Yeah.
I think the Jets, have a top 5 defense as well. However, I think the Bills are going to be able to put on a little bit better of a performance this week than they did in week 10 when they played last, I believe.
Also, too, going into Buffalo and playing is totally different than playing Buffalo on the road in your own house. In your own house, and so one thing I'm very curious to see just when it comes to this game is against the Patriots. Bills actually were able to have somewhat of a decent run game.
Yeah,
James Cook was the one that kind of led the way. I'm curious to see that if they can repeat that against the Jets, who also have a very solid defense. That's probably going to be one of the main things that I end up watching.
So I don't know if the Bills actually were able to run the ball that well. The eye test certainly says that they ran it okay, but numbers wise, they only averaged like 2.7 yards a carry. Part of that was I think the Patriots were daring them to run the football in the first half. And they were playing with a 4-man front. And so James Cook had some good runs in the first half. However, in the second half, the Patriots switched back to their normal 3-4 linebacking group with 2 5 men on the line with 2 outside linebackers. So they weren't able to run the ball nearly as well against that front. And the Jets also have a much better defensive tackle group than the Patriots, as the Patriots have been battling injuries at that position all year. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I think it'll end up being close, but I think it's a 27-17 type of game. I think Buffalo scores a late touchdown to kind of put it away.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. Moving on now then to the next one, sticking in the AFC and also another divisional round or divisional game. Cleveland Browns and Deshaun Watson are going up against Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals. Were you able to catch any of the highlights from the Cleveland-Houston game?
I saw the punt return for a touchdown by Donovan Peoples-Jones, but that was about it. I didn't really care too much to watch the Tiny Towels take on the Texans. Yeah, I heard he looked good. Like nothing. I mean, they held him back a lot.
Yeah, they definitely kind of seemed like they kind of eased him in. It definitely seemed like the first regular season game that Deshaun Watson has played in 2 years. So that's what it definitely kind of seemed like. So I think that they'll keep building off that with Deshaun Watson, and also I think we'll see some improvement, but the Bengals are still going to win because also the Bengals, I think, are now absolutely.
They did this last year.
Yeah, I think they
did this last year.
Their stride, and one of the biggest things was how I think I saw Joe Burrow didn't get sacked against Kansas City last week.
Yeah.
So
that's
huge.
A couple pressures, I think.
So that's huge, and that Browns defense has not been what it has been in the past. So maybe Myles Garrett can get after him, but the Bengals, I think,
he was
now
sacked one time for 7 yards.
Yeah, so the Bengals now healthy receiving core, even without Joe Mixon. Samaje Perine's coming in and been a great replacement, and he's been able to hold his own. So not really missing too much there at the running back.
Only one QB hit, 1 sack
against Kansas City.
Yeah, against Kansas City.
Oh, okay.
So that QB hit was a sack. Like that was it. That was the only time he got hit all day.
That's a pretty good. Yeah. That's a pretty good day. I think. All things considered. So for me, I got the Bengals winning this one. I think they're going to keep on rolling. I think the Bengals. I think the Bengals now they're in position. They kind of control their own destiny for home field advantage because they do host the Bills in Week 17, and that's going to be a game. And if everything kind of keeps playing out, that will essentially be a game for the first overall seed. Yeah.
So, and Cincinnati is behind this team too. That going into Cincinnati in January is a tough place to play for anyone.
Yeah. And that's what it's like. I really respect like the cities of Buffalo, Cincinnati, Kansas City, smaller cities, smaller. Yeah. I mean, you could argue smaller market teams. There's not really a small I guess like Jacksonville is like the epitome of small market. So, but it's like you go to those games and you might find a handful of people that are there supporting the other team, but it is the whole city. The whole city shuts down to watch.
Yeah.
You know, the team play. Here in Nashville, for example, Tennessee is such a commuter city where a lot of the games is like 50-50 or like 60-40. Like there's some diehard Titans fans here, but like when the Cowboys are in town, there's a lot of Cowboys fans there. Steelers, Eagles, you know, all the other big market teams, they travel really well. And that's what I really like about all those teams, the Buffalo, Cincinnati, Kansas City. So I like rooting for them. I like all the teams. I like the way they all play. Like I think they're fun to watch.
Yeah. No. I really like the Bengals. They did this last year. They went on like a 5-1 stretch to close out the season going into the playoffs. I also didn't realize they're 8-4 now. I thought they were like a 500 team, but they're tied with Baltimore for the division.
Yeah.
And they still have to play each other one more time.
And they're going to win that game too, especially I think we'll talk about Baltimore here in a little bit. But
they're banged up.
Yeah, they're banged up, and they're going to be rolling with Tyler Huntley, it seems like, for a couple of weeks. So, let's move on to the next game, though, because also this one won't be too much to talk about. Save us more time for the important games that we need to talk about. But Battle of Texas, Houston at Dallas. Not going to be too much of a battle. It's going to be more of, I would say, a massacre with like a slight hint towards execution. And so
a slaughter.
Yeah, slaughter. Yeah, I think that's probably a better way of saying it. So Houston right now is in full prep for 2023. They're reevaluating every position. Who do we want to keep? Who do we want to cut? What positions should we really target in the draft? I don't see – I mean, maybe Houston can beat – I think they got a game against Jacksonville and a game against Indianapolis left. So,
which is sad. I kind of viewed Houston as like a team that was on the right track coming into this year, and I thought they showed signs of that early on, and it's totally fallen apart.
Well, no, they're kind of in the – so – I disagree a little bit just because with Sean Watson leaving and then they got rid of their coach. So like last year they hired – who was the coach that they hired?
Not
it was
Smith.
No, it wasn't Lovie Smith. It was someone – it was like a perennial like –
Romeo Crennel, is that who it was?
No, it wasn't like the dude had never been head coach before. Like he was a stopgap head coach because no one wanted the job. They were in salary cap hell. Didn't want to deal with Sean Watson. That's it. Yeah. So – it was just kind of it's Lovie Smith now, who I don't think he's had a successful track record in the NFL either. But the organization was in shambles last year, so now they're just trying to put the pieces together because they traded away. I think their first pick in the 2021 draft was Davis Mills, and that was in the third round, I think.
Yeah, it was like pick 67 or something.
Yeah, and so now they're just now starting to rebuild. They're where the Lions were at 2 years ago. Like last year, remember how they were fun to watch, but they couldn't win games. They were a lot of close games. They're a year ahead of that. So I think next year, once they have a good draft, they get a young quarterback in. They have 2 first-round picks, and it's looking like they're going to have potentially 2 top 10 picks as well. So see some young talent come in there. Maybe there'll be some fun stuff like just to see, but they're not going to be really close to winning until 2025, I would say.
Like, that's if everything goes to plan.
That's if everything goes well. So, which I feel for Houston a little bit. Like imagine like you signed Deshaun Watson that contract in March of 2020. And then 8 months later, he's like, I refuse to play for you guys, and I refuse. Like I don't want to. I want to be traded.
To wear clothes during massages, like
yeah, absolutely. No, even beside that though, but just the way that he did business with them, because then on the flip side, then you have that same summer Matthew Stafford got traded, but he dedicated his whole career to the Lions organization and was on some absolutely god awful teams. Yeah. And when the organization came to him, like, hey, this is the direction we're going to go. Do you want to be traded? He said yes, because I want to go win a Super Bowl. Like, I thought that to me was the more respectful business decision way.
Yeah.
Obviously, everything happened with Deshaun Watson, and as a person that I personally disagree with. Also, as a football player and how he did
that.
business.
Yeah.
I don't respect. That was one of the things I thought that they got the short end of the stick. Even though they also Houston, you have to blame horrible hiring in Bill O'Brien. Horrible trades.
No,
I mean, arguably,
Bill O'Brien is a good coach. It was a horrible decision to let him become a general manager because he then traded DeAndre Hopkins, which led to the down spiral
for Johnson.
David Johnson, straight up,
and
a 28-year-old running back who was really good, but nothing like.
Well, no, but 28-year-old running back, you're on the backside of your career.
28-year-old running back Hopkins, for 26-year-old DeAndre Hopkins, who's a Hall of Fame wide receiver.
Well, then what was the other one? The Laramie Tunsil trade. They gave, I think it was Miami,
2 first-rounders
for a left tackle.
For a left tackle. I'm like, you could have taken the left tackle with one of the first-rounders, and then you still have the other one. Like,
you could have offered just a second-round pick. Then go from
Especially
there.
He had been underperforming in Miami.
So it was those things where, you absolutely set the organization up for horrible success. And actually, I thought we did a pretty good job talking about the Texans for 5 minutes. I never thought that we would have actually done that.
Well,
considering this game, I mean, we both picked Dallas. Everyone and their mother's going to pick Dallas for this game.
Especially, I mean, the Colts have top 10 defense, top 5 run defense. Dallas put up 33 points on them in the fourth quarter.
Well, I'll defend the Colts. Well, yeah, I will absolutely defend the Colts defense for a little bit.
They were on the field the whole time.
They were on the field essentially the entire fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And we could go on the Colts a little bit later because maybe even at the end we could talk about some of the bye teams and like what their chances are. But, I mean, Dallas just capitalized on the opportunities. And then I think at what point – I know like you're supposed to be – well, yeah, you're supposed to be a professional. But it's like I'm not going to lay my body on the line because also then if it's a contract year for me and I'm down 40-19 – and this is like a no nothing tackle when I got Ezekiel Elliott running at me at full speed. Be like, no, I'm good. Go ahead and score. Yeah. It's like in the beginning of the Mighty Ducks when I think it was Goldberg. They just kept scoring on him. He's like, I'm tired of getting hit. Like here, just score. I'm just gonna get out of the way. I don't want to get hit anymore. That's kind of like what it looked like. And they were on the field the whole time. They were just exhausted. So, but that Dallas team,
they're explosive. They're good.
Well, so the one thing they are. One thing for me is going to be the consistency. They've gone up against some bad teams. And it seems like they're the best team on the planet for a half. But then the first half, it seems like they are mediocre. That makes sense. When they play against some of the better teams, like when they go up against the Eagles, they're going to have to play 4 good quarters. They can't have these kind of dull, like mind-numbing moments, if that makes sense. They did the same thing with the Green Bay Packers as well.
All right.
What's so funny?
Guess how many points Dallas is favored by. I've never seen this in professional sports. I've never seen a number this high.
I mean, I was going to say like 15, but now I'm going to guess like 27.
No, it's 17.
Oh, okay.
I've never seen a
no, I mean, that sounds – especially if they roll with Kyle Allen as their QB.
That's very fair.
So.
Like, I remember – when the Browns were horrible, they would play the Patriots. The Patriots would be like 11.5-point favorites.
Yeah, well, I mean, think about it. To predict that a team's going to win by 3 possessions, that's a lot.
Yeah,
I mean, so that's predicting that not only they're going to have the other team punt 3 times, but then each time they go and they punt, they're going to go down and score points, especially 2 touchdowns and a field goal. That's hard to predict, even though it probably is going to be a blowout.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
In the Cowboys' last 5 games, they're 4-1 and they haven't scored less than 28 points, but they've scored over 40 or more 3 times. 49, 28, 40, 28, 54. I know, like, that's pretty consistent.
Yeah. I mean, all of their weapons are playing at
very well
in elite level. I mean, even going all the way down to like Dalton Schultz and Noah Brown. I mean, I don't see those guys really making mistakes.
They actually have a really underrated tight end group, led by Dalton Schultz. Noah Brown is also he's
their third guy.
Jake Ferguson, and then they have another
Peyton Hendershot
from Indiana. Yeah, but those three guys are really good, and they're a really good trio. They rotate them in and out well. CeeDee Lamb, one of the more electric guys with the ball in his hands. And then Michael Gallup is making good plays. They have a lot of weapons that I really like. And I like the way that they run their offense because it's not through CeeDee Lamb. It's through a mix of everybody. So it's really hard to be like, all right, well, we're just going to take CeeDee Lamb out, and then what are you going to do? Because you saw what happened when they isolated Stephon Gilmore on CeeDee Lamb on, what was that, Sunday?
Yeah, on Sunday night.
So,
then they see the Michael Gallup for 2 touchdowns, and then and also then you saw Tony Pollard. Sorry about that.
Ezekiel Elliott. Yeah. But with Dallas, let's move on to the next game, which is the first one that we disagree on. Minnesota at Detroit. Who do you have winning this one?
So I have the Detroit Lions. I'll just come out and say I just think it's more personally the more fun pick. And so I've been a big fan of the Lions over the past couple of years. I've really been rooting for them because I just like rooting for shitty teams as a Falcons fan. But also too, but in all seriousness though as well, I think they match up really well against Minnesota, especially offensively. We've seen them put up 40 points multiple times this year. That is not an issue. They have such a great running back tandem balance with DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams. I think Jamal Williams now has 14 touchdowns on the season, which is insane. Amon-Ra St. Brown is nearly unstoppable. Then they have a solid receiving group after that. James Williams is now back. He's still being worked in. He only played a couple snaps and did some punt return, or I guess more punt gunner type stuff for them, which I thought was very interesting. I don't see why you would risk that. But also in defense too, their defense actually has been picking up over the past several weeks. Their defensive front, led by Aiden Hutchinson. Sorry, I want to say Hayden Hitcherson. No, that's not it. Aiden Hutcherson has been playing well. Jeff Okudah in that corner secondary, after firing their DB coach, actually of all things, have started to play a little bit more consistently. I think a lot of that maybe has to do with the improvement of the defensive line. So, and all that being said, if you look at the weaknesses, I would say of Minnesota, it would be their secondary and their offensive line. So I think that they actually match up well against Minnesota. I think it's going to be they should have beat Minnesota earlier in the year. They blew a lead. They just needed to make a 4th and 1, and they didn't get it. And then Minnesota went down. So I have Detroit winning this game. So I think it's going to be more fun.
I have Minnesota winning this game. Since excluding the Dallas loss.
That one it's like that's going to be interesting if they play in the playoffs, Minnesota Dallas, because it's going to be very interesting to pick because that is such an outlier performance from Minnesota. And we haven't really seen it replicated or seen too many glimpses of that since or before. So sorry, go ahead.
But excluding the Dallas loss, this offense has consistently been putting up 24 to 35 points. They got a little bit of a break against New England, getting the roughing the punter call or running into the kicker. Sorry. Maybe they don't score 33 in that one. But again, I just think Minnesota is one of those teams. It's just their year and they're finding ways to win. Justin Jefferson is on an elite level. There's nobody on Detroit that can cover him. And another thing that I really like, even though this offensive line is really banged up, they've actually been playing better over the last 2 weeks than I think they have all year. And I think, but it's just like with all the backups, they're like, all right, here is your job. Like, this is all you have to do. Like, and they're just making it really simple for those guys to understand. Kirk Cousins having his probably career best year, maybe not numbers wise, but like overall performance, I think he's playing really well. And then TJ Hawkinson playing against his former team, really been picking it up in the offense as of late. And they're finding him a lot more.
I am very curious what TJ Hawkinson is going to do on Sunday. That to me, that to me is probably going to be the X factor is going to be Hawkinson. Is what can he bring? does he know? Obviously knows a lot about the Lions, and I think he's going to be able to exploit a lot of the maybe inefficiencies on that Detroit defense, especially over the middle. So, has he been with Minnesota long enough to form that chemistry with Kirk Cousins? So,
No.
but
Yeah.
that's what we're going to see if they can capitalize on that.
I have a supporter. Minnesota wins 29-26 to me in a nail biter.
Hey, all right.
Just Tim is he agrees with me.
Well,
So,
just Tim, thank you for the comment.
Yeah.
But I'll disagree. 29-26, that's a very interesting score. I will say 29-26. That's a very interesting score. I mean, I could see. I mean, I could absolutely see. Minnesota is one of the best teams in the league. They beat Buffalo. Outside of that Dallas game, which I think we all can agree is a huge outlier. But I think that it's going to be a great game. Has Detroit really gotten blown out this year? I don't really remember them having a game where they get blown out. Actually, when they play the Patriots, they did. That was right before their bye.
Jared Goff just got totally out schemed.
And I think
in that game.
I think St. Brown and DJ Chark were
Amon-Ra St. Brown played. They lost the Cowboys 24-6. They lost to they beat the Giants.
Yeah, they beat the Giants handedly at the Meadowlands.
Yeah, I mean, the Patriots and Cowboys, but again, two elite pass rushing defenses this year in the NFL, and I guess that's kind of their kryptonite.
Well,
you can pressure on Jared Goff that's the key.
And was that earlier on in the year in both those games?
That was weeks 5 and 6, I believe.
Yes, I just feel like Detroit's a different team than what it was.
They are
earlier on
in their last 5.
Who they lose to?
Buffalo 28-25.
Oh yeah, they should beat Buffalo. So
yeah,
I think it's gonna be a great game. Let's move on to the next one though. Another divisional, actually a lot of divisional matchups so far.
Yeah.
But the Jacksonville Jaguars and Rubber Bones Trevor Lawrence is going up against the Tennessee Titans. How did he not absolutely just obliterate his leg? Like, did you see like the video?
I saw that. Brian,
I mean, his foot got trapped underneath the guy's body as his body was hitting the ground.
So this is a guy that we talk about a lot, but Brian Sutter did a video about it. He's the YouTube MD, however you want to say it.
He literally has videos within an hour of when an injury happened. Like the game's still going on, and he puts a video out. It is quite impressive.
So he was saying that he has no idea how Trevor Lawrence didn't break an ankle. He was like the way that his ankle is flexed. He's like the only way he can like comprehend that is that his cleats were not stuck in the ground and they were able to slide out. He's like, that's the only way. How he didn't tear his
knee,
medial lateral or medial whatever ligament is MCL in the middle on the inside part of his knee, he doesn't know. He's like, and then for him to come back in the game after what he believed to be a torn meniscus, because he breaks down how the knee rotates, and it can, when it jams and twists, it can tear the meniscus, which is the pad that's on the top of your tibia, right?
Yeah.
And he was like, he doesn't comprehend how he didn't tear something in his knee and that he was able to finish that game. I still think Trevor Lawrence underwent MRIs. We'll find out more tomorrow on Wednesday when the injury report comes out.
I think if there was something major, we would have known about it by now. I mean, it's Tuesday night, it was over 48 hours ago.
He could have like a bruised like meniscus or something like.
True, but my reason for that though is like MRIs definitely happened Monday morning. If something major would have happened where he would have had to miss time or have to maybe go through surgery or sit out or go through special treatment, it would have been reported, to come through where like Trevor Lawrence might miss time at a minimum. We haven't heard anything about that since. So I would assume that, I mean, they say about assuming, but I would assume that the MRIs came back negative and he's good to go and he came back in. Not that it really made a difference in the game between them and Detroit. I would think that it would be he'd be all systems go. And even then coming into this team, I have Tennessee winning this game just because Tennessee wins wins these kind of games, even though they've lost the past 2 weeks, right? Yeah. Well, actually, more about Tennessee internally in a second, but I think Jacksonville has a real shot here. Definitely seen some more potential. Trevor Lawrence has been playing better. The emergence of some of these receivers, signing Christian Kirk, Travis Etienne, has started to really come around. I really just kind of like where Jacksonville is at. And I said this last week about I think that Jacksonville and Detroit wouldn't be surprised 5 years from now or within the next 5 years. We see them make a deep playoff run, potentially meet in the Super Bowl, just with where those teams are progressing. Because I think they've hit on some key draft picks. And so, but moving to the Titans, and news came out today that their GM got fired, primarily I think around the AJ Brown trade, which was one of them. Which was a horrendous trade. We want to talk about horrendous trades with Houston.
I don't know if it's horrendous, but it wasn't a good trade. It was not.
It was a horrendous trade. I mean,
DeAndre Hopkins bad, but it was pretty bad.
I mean, I guess that's fair. If we're classifying horrendous as David Johnson for DeAndre Hopkins, that's fair. But AJ Brown for just one first-round pick and then like a fourth-round pick, I think is what it was. That was it.
Compensatory third. It was like pick 101.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Absolute joke. They gave him away for essentially nothing. They gave him away for an unproven.
Just said AJ smacked him so bad he got the GM fired.
He did.
Yeah, he really did.
Because that was the potential that AJ Brown had. I understand contract issues, but he's still AJ Brown. Like you should have gotten a lot more for AJ Brown than just that.
But especially too, like you look at teams like Miami who just paid Tyreek Hill, the Bills who just paid Stephon Diggs a big contract when they traded for him a couple years ago.
Justin Jefferson is going to be getting a huge contract if he hasn't. I don't think he has gotten one yet.
I don't think he's gotten,
but he's going to.
Yet. He's going to.
Yeah.
Like you see these teams, and it's like it's not the NFL from 10 years ago where like you can do it the Patriot way and get 3 $6 million wide receivers rather than just pay one $18 million wide receiver. Like, you need the $18 million wide receiver, and then you need 2 $6 million wide receivers behind it. Like, that is how you win in the modern day NFL. And I think you're seeing that more and more. And those $18 million wide receivers, you could probably list them on one, maybe 2 hands.
Unless your hand has 6 or 7 digits, then you might be able to do one.
Well, but okay, so you have DeAndre Hopkins, Justin Jefferson. I would put Jamar Chase in that category. Like AJ Brown is at least in the conversation.
Yeah, CD Lamb.
Then you have Tyreek Hill.
Yeah,
I'm not putting CeeDee Lamb there yet, just because he's not an elite route runner. He's great with the ball.
I don't know. I mean, but he is that elite guy. He is the elite guy for Dallas. I mean, he's essentially the number one option. I would include Travis Kelce in that. I know he's a tight end, but I would include Travis Kelce. I would include Travis Kelce in that group of guys. Devontae Adams with
Adams. Okay, so maybe there's more than that, but you have to have one of those elite guys.
Yeah.
Right. Like, you can't make it in the league without an elite pass catcher. I'll just say elite pass catcher instead of wide receivers for Travis Kelce.
That's fair.
But yeah, and like, unless you have 6 guys, like you have 2 or 3 tight ends that can all play, and then 4 receivers that can all play, and you can really spread it around. That's like,
DK Metcalf for Seattle. That's another guy.
Yeah, he's been a little quiet this year, though.
Cooper Kupp with Los Angeles Rams.
Yeah, he's injured this year, though.
Yeah. Well, okay, but still, he's on that list. I do get what you're saying. And so,
if you find it, you better keep it, because they're not easy to come by.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. When you find a keeper, make sure you treat them well. So
yeah, exactly.
But I forgot what game we're talking about. Tennessee.
Jacksonville, Tennessee. I am tempted to switch my pick here. I just think Tennessee will be able to wear down Jacksonville, because I don't think Jacksonville has the run defense that can last all 4 quarters against Derrick Henry.
Yeah. Mike Vrabel has proven enough to me to where he's going to be able to game plan around just giving this team the best opportunity to win, which they have consistently done. Because really, this Tennessee team is not very good. Yeah, live in Nashville. I watch them every Sunday. They're not really that good. The coaching is amazing.
Can you see Rue?
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
Oh.
Get someone peeking over your shoulder there. That is funny. I think that was a symbol from Rue to let's move on to the next game here.
Yeah, we both have Tennessee for that.
Yeah, both have Tennessee. Moving on now to Philadelphia and the New York Giants. And
speaking of AJ Brown,
I think AJ Brown's going to have. Well, I don't know. So this is why I really like Philadelphia. I have Philadelphia winning this game, but against Green Bay, they ran for what? A mile of rushing yards. And then against Tennessee, they threw for about a mile in passing yards. So they can win and beat you both ways, depending on however you game plan. They can beat you both ways. And New York at the same time, and we've talked about them even yesterday and last Monday as well, being a part of the OBJ I'm kind of receiving tour. They don't have anyone that can keep them up, that can keep up pace with Philadelphia. That was hard to say. That was really hard to say for some reason. It's Saquon Barkley, and there's really just kind of one type of way of playing, similar actually to Tennessee, is if they get behind, they're not really able to throw the ball. And so, but Philadelphia, they can beat you in a grinded out game, or they can also beat you in a high shootout. So for me, I think Philadelphia, one, is just the far superior team just in general. But I also think that they're just going to win this game pretty handedly.
For me, Philadelphia is the team. They are built for grinded out games. Mm-hmm. They've just figured out how to score a lot of points. I think you said it yesterday. Philadelphia will, they'll just find a way to put up 30 points. It'll be slow. They'll take 6-minute drives, right? They'll play good defense, and it's all of a sudden it's 30-13.
Well, it reminds me of just watching, as I said yesterday, reminds me of just kind of watching Georgia football a little bit. Mm-hmm. Nothing really too flashy. It's just at the end of the game, it's we put up 33 to 10 or 33-17, whatever it is, and that's Philadelphia. They can do that RPO offense with Jalen Hurts. They can do the run pass option. They can QB sneak it on 4th and 1, knowing that they're going to get it. I love watching that. I love that teams do that. When it's 3rd and inches, because I hate seeing them punt it. When it's you have to gain half a football. I love seeing it where it's hey, so we're just going to put 2 receivers and a running back right behind our quarterback, and essentially
we're just going to push.
Yeah. We're just going to push. Everyone in the whole freaking stadium knows what we're doing, and we're still going to get a first down. I just like watching it.
It's good football.
Philadelphia, to me, has to be a part of the Super Bowl conversation, and they're going to be a part of the Super Bowl conversation for the next several years. They got 2 first-round picks. The Saints keep losing. Who do they I was wondering about that. How do they get the Saints' first-round pick this year? Who do they trade?
Nobody. The Saints had
they had to have gotten it somehow.
Yeah, no. They traded. So Philly had 3 first-round picks this past year. The Saints had 1.
Yeah,
they traded 1 first-round pick last year and the 1 first-round pick this year for. I'm sorry.
They traded for Chris Olave.
Their first-round pick last year, or they traded their first-round pick this year for last year's one of Philadelphia's first-round picks last year. Yeah. So they both had 2 at the end. Yeah. So, and I wanted they might have swapped picks with one of I think Philadelphia had 15, 16, and 19, and I think New Orleans had 17. So they traded for 15 and 19, and then Philadelphia ended up having 16 and 17. I think that's right. And then the Saints also traded up for Chris Olave after that.
Yeah, so the Eagles traded the number 16 overall pick, number 19 overall pick, and 2022 6th-round pick to the New Orleans Saints for the number 18 overall pick, a 2022 3rd-round pick, 2022 7th-round pick, a 2023 1st-round pick, and a 2024 2nd-round pick.
Yeah, so a lot of picks. Yeah, and they actually only got. I say only loosely because Chris Olave's had a really good rookie season.
I think going back to the receiver conversation, I think Chris Olave is going to be that stud. I think he can turn into being that stud. He's already at almost 1,000 yards, and that's with Andy Dalton and Jameis Winston as his quarterback. So
and so Just Tim says, let's be real. So far, Olave seems worth it. I agree. However, I think they could have just skipped a couple steps and just traded up for Chris Olave. I didn't think they had to do all the other trades because now I feel like they're out a lot of other players that they could use to support Chris Olave. That's my only quarrel with it. I think that they probably got the Chris Olave pick right. But if you have only Chris Olave, then I feel like you're putting all your eggs in one basket that he's going to be great.
Well, let me double check here. So you had Drake London, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Jameson Williams, Jahan Dotson, Treylon Burks. I think Christian Watson around 2. And Wan'Dale Robinson's actually had a good year before he got hurt.
And then I think Tyquan Thornton was the next one, right?
No, John Mechie the third, who we haven't seen yet. I think he's actually been battling cancer.
Yeah, he has leukemia.
Yeah.
Sadly.
I hope he's doing well overall with that because he's a really good talent. George Pickens with the Steelers was good. But even all that being said, I think you can make a serious argument that Chris Olave has had the best rookie season of those receivers.
The receivers.
So, Garrett Wilson, you have to look at his stats, but I think he's been hindered offensively.
Yeah.
Chris Olave, he should be close to 1,000 yards
way off
receiving.
topic.
Oh, I know. It's just fun to talk about. Long story short, though,
the Giants have no weapons. Yeah,
Giants have no weapons outside of Saquon Barkley. Philly's going to win. I'm going to say 35-17.
I'll go 31-21. I think it'll be a 10-point game. I also think the Giants will have some success running the football. Up next, possibly the biggest division matchup of the week. Baltimore, without Lamar Jackson, is traveling to Pittsburgh, who Pittsburgh needs to win out to get in the wild card race.
Yeah.
And Baltimore, they need to play really well over the next 3 weeks to potentially win the division. However, Lamar Jackson getting injured, very poor timing as the Bengals definitely seem to have hit a stride and they're both 8-4.
Yeah. Yeah. So for me, Baltimore obviously definitely battling the injury bug. Seems like they do that.
It's the style of football they play, though. That's what it is. So.
I'm picking Pittsburgh.
I am too, actually,
because Pittsburgh beats Baltimore last year with Tyler Huntley, and Pittsburgh. I want to make the argument. Pittsburgh has actually improved from last year. It's primarily the same team overall. Except they improved at quarterback to Kenny Pickett, who I think is more versatile than Ben Roethlisberger. Obviously, Ben Roethlisberger is a Hall of Famer. I'm not saying Kenny Pickett overall, but if you look at Ben Roethlisberger then to who Kenny Pickett is now and how he's grown through his rookie season, I think Kenny Pickett's going to be more dangerous than Ben Roethlisberger. And also they improved over Chase Claypool with adding George Pickens. I think this offense is hitting the stride, and Baltimore has really been struggling offensively. So I think that the Pittsburgh defense is going to be able to keep them in check, and Pittsburgh at home is going to continue their winning streak.
No, I agree. They are definitely on the upswing. Could you imagine if this team had a average offensive line right now?
They would be contending. They would absolutely be contending for the division.
Yeah,
at minimum.
If they had an offensive line, let's go back and look at their schedule really, really, really quick.
We don't want to get off track. Not like we haven't done that already.
Well, fair. I got to go all the way back. Hold on. Bear with me.
How hard is it to find their schedule?
You'd be surprised. Who are we talking about? The Steelers? All right.
Well, I found it's user error. That's what it is. It sounds like it's user error.
So they probably beat the Patriots, who only put up 17 points against them. They probably beat the Jets the next week, because they lost by 4 points. Then okay, so they have 2 more wins, but they're 7-5 right now, which puts them in the wild card spot and 1 game back from the division lead, going into 2 games with Baltimore.
Well, and Mitch Trubisky was the quarterback for about 5 or 6 games, correct? Right. I mean, because that's when they made the change to Kenny Pickett. Yes, they had a couple of hiccups and over those next couple of games, but they were wanting Kenny Pickett from very early on, and they waited a little bit longer than they potentially could have. Not saying it would have made a difference, but I just think in general, I think Pittsburgh's just overall playing better football right now, and Baltimore's not. And Baltimore struggled against above average defenses. They struggled against the Panthers, which has a good defense, and Broncos, who arguably has the best defense in the league. It just sucks who their quarterback is.
Which I never thought I would have said that going into this year.
Absolutely not. But yeah, I think Pittsburgh's going to win this game, going to keep their playoff hopes alive, and Baltimore's going to be reeling because I think I saw mention this already. Lamar Jackson is out for about 1 to 3 weeks with a PCL sprain, I think is what it was. Yeah. So, and even then, when he comes back, is he going to be the Lamar Jackson that we're used to? So, let's move on.
The big thing with his career, not to topics again, is can he stay healthy? Because I think he's 26 now, 27.
Like he's been in the league for a little bit.
If he the way he plays, he's going to have a lifespan much closer to a running back than the traditional quarterback.
Well, and he's not an elite thrower.
He has improved this year as a thrower.
He has improved, but he's not naturally an elite thrower like Mahomes or Allen, who run a lot and can take some hits. But as they get older, they'll be able to lean on throwing the ball much more. So moving on, though, now let's go on to a big AFC matchup here, not divisional, but wild card implications. The Miami Dolphins going to the Los Angeles Chargers. Who do you have here?
So I have Miami. The Chargers are just super banged up. They're playing hard, but we talked about this yesterday. I think I listed off 7 or 8 names. So J.C. Jackson out for the season. Joey Bosa missed a large portion of time. Keenan Allen missed a very large portion of time. Mike Williams has now been out for 4 straight weeks. Corey Linsley out for the season. Left tackle Rashawn Slater has been out. Who else? I think Kenneth Murray has also missed time this season.
You mentioned Asante Samuels Jr. has been out for a little.
Yeah, Derwin James, Asante Samuel Jr. So that's 9 key starters. Who have all missed. I will loosely say at least 3 games this year, if not season-ending injuries.
Yeah. Well, and the biggest thing too is going to be the offensive line, because while that offense was, when they had a healthy offensive line, was absolutely amazing, but without it, they kind of returned back to the offense that we saw
Herbert's rookie year.
Yeah, Herbert's rookie year before they got Rashawn Slater. So,
I don't know if I agree with this. So, Just Tim said, if the Broncos didn't exist, the Chargers would be the most disappointing team in the NFL. I don't know if I agree, because they aren't just underperforming like the Broncos are. They've just been so injury riddled that they haven't really been able to compete. A team that has been really disappointing was the Indianapolis Colts. They're 4-8-1 now. And it's just okay, you had the best run game in the league last year. You brought back the same offensive line, yet added a rookie Bernard Raymond at left tackle. Defense, you added Stephon Gilmore, and they have a good defense. They just it has not been put to paper. So
another 2 teams that immediately came to my mind about disappointments is the Cardinals and the Buccaneers. Just because of the expectations that we had, and I know DeAndre Hopkins was out for the first 6 games, but still, you would have thought with Kyler Murray and with how explosive that offense could be, you would have thought that they would have been able to, and they had invested some into the defense as well. You would have thought that they would have been more well prepared to kind of ride the storm a little bit until Hopkins got back.
Yeah. I wouldn't say the Cardinals as much because of their fall off last year. The Buccaneers are also one of those teams that offensive line is almost all second stringers. I think 4 of the 5 starters are out or playing out of position, which is just like to expect them to be able to compete at a Super Bowl level with that amount of injury is very low. As well as Chris Godwin, Julio Jones, 2 of their top pass catchers are also in and out of the lineup. So,
and you're right. And actually, another team just came to my mind, Packers. That's got to be a huge disappointment.
Yeah, definitely.
I think the Packers.
I would throw the Patriots in there as well. I'd put the Patriots up there. The thing was, there was a lot of speculation with the Patriots coming into the season, but they were also a playoff team last year. And if you look at the roster, it is clearly improved from last season. Yeah. So that's another one.
Quickly though, for me, I have Miami winning this game. Also with the injuries that you talk about with Los Angeles, I also just think Miami actually matches up well against Los Angeles.
Stretch the field on them, and they're not a fast team.
Well, and they're also, I think they're going to be blitzing a little bit more than normal, than what Chargers might be used to because of the weakened offensive line. So let's move on, though, to the next game. Tampa Bay going up against the 49ers. Brock Purdy is going to be the starting quarterback. The 49ers did not pursue Baker Mayfield, and so Brock Purdy's going to be –
Did you hear Jimmy G is not having surgery now? So that's a big thing, especially as they even push for a wild card spot.
My one thing, though, the timeline it said for Jimmy G is said 7 to 8 weeks. That puts them, like, even let's be conservative, let's even say 6 weeks. That puts them towards the end of January. So, like, maybe NFC Championship, maybe like,
yeah, I think so. Like,
so they got to get there first. Yeah. So that's my biggest thing. So
this will be very interesting. Could do it. He could.
Yeah. I the 49ers still winning this game just because it's more my lack of faith in the Buccaneers than with Brock Purdy. I think that they'll be able to game plan around Brock Purdy and him. Is he a rookie? Was he Mr. Relevant in this draft, or was it last year? I think it was this year.
I want to say it was this year.
Yeah. So
he was at Iowa State. So he was actually I don't want to say highly touted NFL draft prospect coming into this last year, but he had a horrible state at Iowa State, a horrible season at Iowa State last year. So I don't know. We'll see.
We talked about it yesterday, and I agree with kind of what we said about how the 49ers offense is set up. Is Jimmy Garoppolo is already a game manager. He was one of the best game managers in the league, and which is what this offense needs, because a lot of what this offense is around is running the ball and explosive designed plays to get the playmakers open with the ball. Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, and Brandon Ayuk. So all Brock Purdy has to do is just be a facilitator. Doesn't have to be a Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen to lead this team down the field, or Lamar Jackson. So I don't think it really hurts the 49ers too much. And, but we'll see here come Sunday.
And we looked at their schedule a little bit last night, and it's not really too difficult. They play Tampa Bay this week, and then
they got the Cardinals, they got the Seahawks, they got the Raiders. It's a decently tough schedule.
Yeah, but
there's some tough teams on
not
there.
any elite defenses. They play Bucks, Seahawks, Commanders, Raiders, Cardinals.
Yeah,
as their next 5 games.
Seahawks, Raiders, Cardinals defense are not very elite, and honestly, I don't really even think the Buccaneers defense is that good. Like, I think that they should be able to move the ball fine, and
it's pretty good.
The 49ers defense is going to be able to smother the Tampa Bay offense.
Yeah. So, I like Tampa Bay or San Francisco to beat Tampa Bay. I just think that, like you said, that this defense wins it for them.
Yeah.
Moving on, last non-primetime game, Carolina versus Seattle. Carolina is a shit show right now. Defense is good, but I just I have no faith in them at all.
Well, one vote of confidence for them is Sam Darnold did start in their last game, which was Week 12. They played against the Broncos, and they put up 23 points. And It's more about how they were able to put up 23 points against that Broncos defense, because I think the Broncos haven't given up more than 20 points. I think only one time this season, maybe twice, not including the Carolina game. So that is kind of a big feat, even though beating the Broncos is not. So I'm curious to continue to see what happens with Sam Darnold, because also for me, if Sam Darnold ends up playing well, it's going to be interesting to me looking at how they go about the draft. If they think Sam Darnold can be the guy moving into the right system, because there are some great defensive edges that they can add to continue to keep bolstering up that defense.
I don't think he's the guy.
Oh, that's fine. I mean,
I think he's damaged goods. If he were an Amazon package, I'd return him.
Fair, but they just put up their best offensive performance in their last game without Christian McCaffrey. And that, well, I take that back. They had a good offensive performance against the first game against the Falcons. That was with PJ Walker. But against that Broncos defense. So just curious to kind of see. That all being said, though, I think Seattle will be able to exploit the team, and because they've been playing really well on offense, I think that they're going to be able to just outscore them. And we'll see if Carolina can keep up pace. But going into Seattle has been tough for a lot of teams this season. Yeah.
No, I think Seattle beats them fairly handedly. I think it's a two-score game. 35-21, I think, is probably what it is.
I don't think it's going to be as easy as you say, because this Carolina defense is really good. It is definitely I'll put up there as close to the top 10 defense. A lot of teams have struggled against this Carolina defense. So I think it's going to be closer than expected, but Seattle will end up pulling it out on at home. So
so one last comment. Just Tim said, Sam, I feel bad for him, but I see both sides. He shows flashes, has good games, but also has horrible games. And I agree with like the inconsistency with it. And it's if they can keep him clean to me. Like if they can keep a good pocket for him and let him sit back there, he can make good throws. But even then, sometimes I feel like he rushes things. And just he makes some decisions and you're like, why? Like
very, very Carson Wentz-esque. But my one thing for me, and this is a philosophical kind of way about how you want to go about rebuilding a team is, and this is kind of why the Lions stuck with Jared Goff, is because it is like, do we want to build the offense and then go get the young quarterback, or get the young quarterback now and see how that goes? So what does Carolina want to do? They have tried now. I mean, they just waived Baker Mayfield, but and there's going to be a new coach coming in, so there's going to be a whole new regime. He might have a whole new philosophy, but this offensive line has been one of the worst offensive lines over the past 5-6 years, right?
It's been atrocious.
It's been atrocious. So they have put a lot of different quarterbacks back there, none of them to success. Also, they haven't been elite top 5 QB talent, to be fair. But at what point, though, is it like, let's just stick a guy back there and let's build the team around him? Or let's build a team so that we can go get that rookie draft and we can come in, set him up for success. Maybe that's not the right way to go about it. But it seems like Carolina has been doing this now for about 5 or 6 years and have not found any success whatsoever.
Yeah,
because they're wasting a really good defense at the same time.
But that's like,
and
like you said, it's all about a different philosophy.
But how do you want to rebuild, and when do you?
Historically, if you look at like Mahomes, Brady, Josh Allen, you build the team in the trenches, draft the quarterback, and then you get him a wide receiver. That's the method. Because Mahomes with the Chiefs took over for Alex Smith. He threw 13 touchdowns to wide receivers the year that Patrick Mahomes was his backup. He threw I think 14 to tight ends. So that's still a good season, but just not a lot to wide receivers. Tyreek Hill and Patrick Mahomes form a connection, elite wide receiver. There you go. Josh Allen with the Bills. They built that team from the trenches out, and then get them Stephon Diggs. Now look at where they are.
So one thing though, I'm a little confused. In that, do you build the trenches first, then get the quarterback, then the receiver, or do you get the quarterback and then build the offensive line?
You build up the trenches, get the quarterback, and then get the receiver.
Okay, so then if I'm understanding correctly, would you think that what Carolina should do is what I said. Is that what you think
I think they should
do?
build the team.
Okay.
Build the team. And then get a quarterback because that makes it so much easier. I think New England was on the right track last season, but then they set themselves back with Mac Jones.
Yeah.
Or not Mac Jones, Matt Patricia, and that whole debacle.
And Cole Strange. No, I'm just kidding.
I actually don't think Cole Strange is the problem.
I know. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I just like the memes. And that's, I think it's a very interesting way to go about it. Another key factor too, going into the Panthers on who they go about is, do they like CJ Stroud or Bryce Young or Will Levis? If they don't like them, then maybe they go.
I'm not a huge fan of Will Levis. This quarterback class is very suspect to me. There's not one guy that I'm like, I really think he has potential to be the guy.
Yeah. So that'll be an interesting thing to come.
Yeah. We'll talk about that come February, March.
I'm looking forward to watching all of it.
Oh yeah.
Looking forward to getting some film.
Let's get into the primetime games. Kansas City going to Denver. I don't think there's too much to talk about here. Unless you want to talk about how Denver's the most disappointing team.
Well, the one thing
by far,
I was trying to think: has Denver played in a primetime game since like week 4 when they played the Colts?
Oh my god! Well, that's the worst NFL football game I've ever seen.
Well, because it's going to be very interesting. It's like, I think a lot of people were still giving them hope. They're like, okay, like it's early on in the season now, but now they've gone absolutely atrocious.
Yeah,
I watched who's the guy on YouTube. He's a Broncos fan, and he's been doing this now. But he started this little series where it's like the worst game ever, now the new worst game ever, now the new worst game ever. And he's been doing it for every Broncos game. I need to look it up. But now it's blown up because every week is a new like they keep out worsening themselves.
Yeah. I think every week they give up a little bit more and a little bit more.
Do you know how bad the Broncos were in the last game? They didn't make the red zone. Like they didn't red zone once at all. And I don't think until like their winning touchdown drive. That's how bad that game was overall. Another funny thing too about it, Denver had only 4 penalties the entire game. 1 was on offense, 3 were on defense. 2 of the defensive penalties were on the final drive of Baltimore. Like they actually had an opportunity to win, and they actually hadn't had any penalties the entire time. But they had 2 penalties, and they happened to be on the game-winning drive. They have just been so bad.
I sent you this meme, but I'll say it for our viewers. If you take Drew Lock's, I think it was the 2020 offense that Drew Lock led.
Or 2021. Because it was Teddy Bridgewater. My bad.
Yeah. The 2020 offense that was Drew Lock led. They averaged 18.5 points a game, which was like bottom 15, like well below average.
It was a bad offense. Yeah.
Yeah. They were like at week 11, they would have been 8-3.
Yeah.
Like to put in perspective just how bad this offense is and how much talent they're wasting on the defensive side of the football.
Yeah.
Because like this defense, top 5 in numbers, right? Granted, before the Bradley Chubb trade, they were even better, but it's just.
Well, that's what's crazy about it is they traded Bradley Chubb and they're still having this performance.
Yeah.
Think about how good they'd be if this offense was competent. They were not even competent, just Drew Lock mediocre. And then reason to keep Bradley Chubb. His defense is great. And like, let's just put up 20 points a game. It's like it is amazing to me because we were talking about it we had a friends miss this past week with my wife and her friends and all the husbands were there. And we were all talking. It's like going into the season, would you presume that Russell Wilson was on a Hall of Fame career type path?
Yeah.
I agree. I think this one season will obliterate all that.
Well, we talked about this a little bit in weeks prior. I don't think it's the numbers because I think the numbers, like if he comes back and has an MVP caliber season next year, I think the numbers kind of get washed away from this year. Like, all right, well, he just was in a new system for this year and whatever. It's what's come off about him off
as a
the
character,
field,
his character,
and his character in the locker room is what's really bashed him. I mean, when you have Richard Sherman who is a Hall of Fame corner, will be a Hall of Fame corner, like very well respected by players around the league, both past and present, saying, "Oh, you want to get a hold of Russell Wilson? Let me call his agent real quick." Like on live Thursday Night Football, like, and then that is echoed throughout all of your former teammates. That to me is what is killing his Hall of Fame hopes. And then coupling that with how bad he is performing in Denver is what's really ruining it for me. So we don't have Hall of Fame votes, but this season has definitely damaged the Russell Wilson legacy. And I think he's become a great quarterback. He's gone from a great quarterback to just another guy in an era.
Well, and I agree. And one of the things also too, and this is just like reports, but coming from a lot of like the beat writers from Denver, it's like there's talk about like who's really is to blame, like Nathaniel Hackett or Russell Wilson. And what a lot of them have been saying, and from the reports that I've read, is Nathaniel Hackett still has the locker room. There are still guys that like believe in him, but Russell Wilson supposedly has lost guys in the locker room. Like they do not find him as a leader. And I think if that is true, that speaks huge volumes to who he is as a football player, and as a leader, especially being the star quarterback. That a team essentially said, like, "Hey, we're getting rid of our first round picks over the next several years because we believe in you and your talent. So we can't rebuild at all." And he's just ruining all of that.
They did that so he could come in and establish a culture behind Nathaniel Hackett.
He's establishing a culture. He is establishing
it's
a
not
culture
a winning
for
one.
Sure.
But yeah, so we both have Kansas City in this game, if you cannot tell.
Oh yeah, I didn't think.
I would not be surprised if Kansas City wins by more than 2 scores.
So yeah, I think that they'll win by more than 2 scores, but it's going to be. I mean, this Denver defense, they're not going to like put up 40 on them. I don't think. I think it'll probably be like a 24 6.
Yeah.
You think they scored a touchdown? I don't think they scored a touchdown.
24-6. I don't know. This Kansas City defense is good, not great. I mean, they're really young. I think they're playing with 3 rookie members in the secondary and a rookie on the offensive line, as well as a second and third year linebacker. In Willie Gay and Nick Bolton. So they're a really young team.
Yeah.
So
it's just they're even this Kansas City defense, they're going up against a quarterback who's having a historic year. And it's a historic, it's historic for a bad reason. Like this will be a season that we all remember 20 to 30 years from now with this Russell Wilson traded. Very curious to kind of see what this continues to happen to his legacy. So, but let's move on though to the Monday Night Football game. Your Patriots are going up against the Arizona Cardinals. Well, it's your team. Who do you think is going to win this game?
So it's my team, and I'm picking against them. I have the Cardinals winning. So the Patriots this year are 5-0. They're 6-0 against teams when they score less than 17 points, right? Against the Patriots. When the defense holds the opponent to less than 17 points, Patriots are 6-0. They are 0-6 when the opponent scores 17 or more points. And I think that just truly speaks to how abysmal this offense has been all season. But the big thing with that is I don't think they'll be able to stop Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins because they've played together in 4 games, and it looks like they're going to play together in their 5th game come Monday. And in all 4 of those games, they have scored 28 or more points as a collective offense. So if either of them does not play, I will change my pick. But if they both play, I don't think there's much New England can do to really stop them.
For me, I still think I think New England's defense is going to be able to contain Kyler Murray in that offense because they don't really have much for running game outside of Kyler Murray scrambling. And yes, they have some other weapons that they can throw to outside of DeAndre Hopkins. But even then, I think your guys' defense is good enough to stymie and to come up with ways to halt this Arizona offense. Also, too, I will say at the same time, you don't trust the Patriots coaching staff. I don't trust Arizona's coaching staff and Cliff Kingsbury. I think that this is going to be his last season as a Cardinals head coach.
So I distrust Cliff Kingsbury in a different way. I actually think Cliff Kingsbury is a good offensive mind. I just don't think he knows how to run a football team, which as a head coach in the NFL, you have to do. You're not just a coordinator.
Yeah.
The Patriots do not know how to call offensive plays. We talked about this last night. But like their offensive play calling is absolutely abysmal. Going back to the Vikings game and the Jets game, the Patriots had no offensive consistency. They were running power run plays in between the 20s, and when they would get in the red zone, they would mindlessly switch to RPOs. And then in the Vikings game, Mac Jones didn't know where to look on half the offensive plays. Keep in mind, the Vikings game was the Patriots' best offensive game of the season. And I think that is mostly credit to how bad the Vikings defense is. And they're running very simple schemes and they're not detail oriented. And it's just, it shows on the field. They're not a good offense. They are, I think, the worst team in the red zone this year. They have not scored touchdowns, I want to say, on their last 8 red zone possessions.
Really?
And to be fair, I think they only got in the red zone twice against the Bills.
But even then going to this game though, do you I mean, Arizona's defense is not by any means elite or good, like so to say. It's like, do you think that they won't be able to find any basic offensive success like in the red zone against
I think they'll have a very similar game to Minnesota, the Minnesota game. I think it'll be fairly high scoring. I think the defense is going to give up over 30 points because they'll have no answer for DeAndre Hopkins, just like they had no answer for Stephon Diggs, just like they had no answer for Justin Jefferson. Who are they going to put on him? Jack Jones, the rookie? Jalen Mills has been battling hamstring injuries all season long. Like, I can't imagine you putting a one-legged Jalen Mills out there who probably couldn't even cover him 100% healthy. I do not know what they could do to slow down this offense.
I mean, maybe, but like it's just one guy. There's ways you can scheme about it. Because then, do we really think like what are some of the Cardinals' other weapons though? I mean, because
Zach Ertz,
pretty sure he's out.
Is he? I thought I was doing a Patriots podcast. They were talking about Zach Ertz.
Today. I thought he was on IR. Like I thought he was done for the season.
But I think just short-term IR. Marquise Brown is out for the season. They have is it Farrow? Yeah,
Zach Ertz suffered season-ending injury.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think Greg Dolchich,
Rondale Moore
or Greg Dortch, I think is the guy.
Dortch. Greg Dortch is the one that I was thinking of. Yeah.
Okay.
Rondale Moore, Greg Dortch, DeAndre Hopkins, and then actually out of the backfield, James Conner is having a pretty good season.
James Conner's on his way out, though. He's not going. He's not really a dual threat running back.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm just like it could. Like, yeah, they're like Arizona has an opportunity here. I'm not saying New England's going to destroy.
It's going to be to me. This is a coin flipper. I just think New England has proven that in close, high-scoring games they cannot win.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
That's my take. Justin almost said, or he said the Pats' whole offense is Ramondre, which is true. I mean,
yeah, I'm not disagreeing. I'm not disagreeing.
He really is.
At all. You guys don't have. We were talking about elite receivers earlier. Jacoby Myers is your guy's number one receiver. That's not. I mean, he's a good slot receiver. Don't get me wrong. But
he's a possession guy.
Yeah,
we have a bunch of low 2s, high 3 receivers.
Yeah, like for someone like Tyquan Thornton too, I think he can become like
They
a
don't
number
use
one
him
guy.
right.
Well, but that's like, and also at the same time though, with Jacoby Myers being your slot guy, the number one corner on the other team is going to be lining up against him or Nelson Aguilar. And neither one of those guys, especially Nelson Aguilar, will never be. But Tyquan Thornton right now can't break like a number one corner's coverage.
They don't use him right, and it's so frustrating. So like if you look at like what the Chiefs used to do with Tyreek Hill and what the Bills now do with Isaiah McKenzie, which are both extremely fast guys. Tyreek Hill is just on another level.
Yeah.
But it's like they would run him on drag routes across the field, and they would make defenders have to respect the deep ball. And then they would just have their guy cut across field and basically create a foot race like 20 times a game. Tyreek Hill won that 10 out of the 20 times, right? Yeah. And like to put that in perspective, if you have a 50% win rate on the offensive line, you're getting pressures on half the snaps. Like having a 50% win rate is almost unheard of. What the Patriots do is they take Tyquan Thornton, they put him out wide, and then they just have him run straight down the field. But when you're having him run straight down the field into off-man coverage, I don't care if he runs a 4.28. You're running to the guy. Like you're running right into his hands. So offensively, there needs to be changes. They don't know what they're doing offensively. They're very poorly coached, and they are also having internal issues with Kendrick Bourne and Mac Jones screaming at the coaching staff, saying the running game effing sucks. We need to throw the ball. Like,
yeah, I did see that. I want to see what your thoughts were on Mac Jones yelling that. I saw that video of him like was just
he's right.
Oh yeah, it's like let me effing throw the ball. I think is what he said.
Yeah,
or something along that lines.
He said let's throw. He said let's throw it. The short game effing sucks. And he said it wasn't directed at the coach, but if you look at it off camera, Matt Patricia was like right there. There was really nobody else to say it to.
I don't see. I mean, maybe this just isn't. That's not the business way to go about it. But I don't see why he doesn't come out and say like, no, that was directed at the coaching staff. Like, what are they going to do? Bench him? Like,
cut him, trade him. Bill Belichick will, if he views Mac Jones as a problem, he will take a 4th round pick for Mac Jones. Like, that is the Belichick way of doing things.
I think that would be a huge mistake because that is your first round quarterback, the guy you want to build your franchise around, saying, hey, this is not working. Like he is also, the coach is also I understand that there is a what's the, like a power dynamic, hierarchy? You know what I mean? Yeah, a hierarchy, yes, but it is also your star quarterback. Like I've seen Tom Brady get into multiple fights and yelling and screaming.
There's a big difference between Mac Jones and Tom Brady, though.
Yes, but I think the point's still valid though. If your starting quarterback is being like, this game plan is not working, like someone has to say it. You know, like, I don't see the issue of him saying like him going to Bill, like, hey, Bill, tell Matt that this is not working. Like, do something else. And I would love it, especially if you're and to Mac Jones' credit, like we all saw the hustle that he was putting in, like trying to keep these plays alive, trying to make these ridiculous throws downfield to try and get someone open to have something happen. Because that was, I mean, they looked pitiful that entire game offensively. It was that one bubble screen that they scored a touchdown on. Other than that, though, it was just check down passes after check down passes, little slant
Mac
routes.
Jones was like 29 of 38 for like 180 yards.
Yeah.
Like they were 40, averaging less than 4 yards of play per offensive snap, not even like a pass.
Yeah. So for me, I mean, Mac Jones is an adult. Matt Patricia is an adult. I mean, don't make it ridiculous, but be like, tell the coach, like, hey, this game plan's not working. Like, can we be more creative? And if Bill Belichick wants to trade him off that, if I'm Mac Jones, be like, good, get me the hell out of here. Like I'll go somewhere else that has more dynamic.
I think Mac Jones might have some leverage in the offseason of just be like, we're getting a real coordinator. I think Robert Kraft and Bill Belichick have a conversation to have in the offseason, but I think Mac Jones is also like, if this doesn't change, I'm leaving. Like,
yeah,
because Mac Jones he's the 3rd most hit quarterback in football right now. Like, So it's just like what the Patriots are putting on the field is unacceptable in Patriots standards. And what's really frustrating, I was thinking about this. Could you imagine if Tom Brady had this team with Josh McDaniels as the offensive coordinator, what they would be able to do? You have a top 5 points defense in the NFL. You have legit receiving options, whereas like the last 3 or 4 years of his career in New England, he did not have. And it's just like I don't know. That's where I am with it.
Yeah,
but,
it's something to think about.
Yeah,
Hypothetical.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting take. I'm taking Arizona on Monday night.
Yeah,
I think they're just going to outscore New England. You're going to do so much in terms of coaching, and I think that'll show on Monday. I almost said Sunday, but Monday. So yeah,
that's true.
All right. We have any other final comments here? Let's talk about the Cowboys. We already did. They are 17-point favorites against the Texans. They should win.
They're going to win. So here, I guess let's talk about it for a little bit here. Do you think the Cowboys are legit Super Bowl contenders, or do you think
this is the most legit the Cowboys have been as Super Bowl contenders since Dak Prescott's been there?
Yeah. Honestly, the biggest thing for me actually has been the performance of the defense. I think Micah Parson led defense, they have been able to get after every team. I'm really looking forward to when the Cowboys play the Eagles here in a couple weeks, because that will be by far their toughest matchup.
If you look at defenses that win their team Super Bowls, right? I think of Super Bowl 48, Seattle Seahawks, Super Bowl 45 or 46, Baltimore Ravens, Ray Lewis's last year, New York Giants, 2007. Those are all not just great defenses, points wise, but they also get after the quarterback and make plays.
Mm-hmm.
They don't just get 3 and outs and force punts. And I think that's what the Cowboys have in this defense, right? They might give up the 20-yard pass, but 2 plays later, they're going to get a strip sack. And it's and they're going to create opportunities for their offense. And you have a great offensive line in front of Dak Prescott. I think you have possibly the best receiving group that Dak might have ever had. Maybe with Amari Cooper. However, you didn't have the tight ends before with Dak. And I think they're more versatile now. With Tony Pollard and Zeke playing at the level that they are.
That's what Tony Pollard's career year. Tony Pollard was always but he was always considered the backup to Zeke. Now I think he is the number 1 guy, and they're able to bring them both in situations that definitely benefit them. Zeke's definitely more of a goal line specific guy, but Pollard is your 3-down back. He can come in and play all 3 downs. He can catch it out of the backfield, and then he can burn guys. And he's had multiple, I think, 50 or 60-yard touchdowns this year, receiving touchdowns. So he is very versatile. I think this is the Cowboys' biggest chance.
The only problem is this is the best Philadelphia team that we've seen this century, pretty much. This team is better than the team that won the Super Bowl a few years ago.
I would think so. And we're going back to the versatility on offense. I think they run the ball a little bit better. I think they throw the ball.
They're not as good throwing the ball, but they're
by barely. Not by much.
Yeah, Dallas is an elite passing offense with Dak Prescott back there. Philadelphia is a very good passing offense. Look at their weapons. Quez Watkins. I'll start from the bottom. Quez Watkins, Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown. All fantastic.
They have a running back by committee with Miles Sanders, Kenneth Gainwell, Boston Scott. Miles Sanders leading the way. And they all fit in seamlessly. They all can catch out of the backfield. You don't know what type of play that they're going to be running. You got to watch all the skill players. And then on top of that, similar, that defense is ridiculous.
Yeah, just absolutely
really good. Yeah, so it's going to be fun. I absolutely could see I can see both those teams going on to the Super Bowl. We're going to have a great playoffs. even, and I know Tampa Bay is probably going to be the worst team to make the playoffs if they end up winning that division, but it is still Tom Brady in January. Like, I wouldn't count that out. And then if it keeps playing out this way, I think I mentioned this last night, but the Buccaneers will be the 4th seed. Dallas will be the 5th seed. Buccaneers beat Dallas. It was week 1. A lot has changed. Yes.
Could you imagine Dallas gets – so Philadelphia is going to win the division most likely. Dallas gets the 5 seed and has to go to Tampa Bay for a January playoff game.
Exactly.
Yeah. That would
That's
be
my
nuts.
point. Yeah. So it's like a lot has changed since September. Yes, but still, Tampa Bay has beaten Dallas the past 2 years. So it'll be very interesting to watch. But this Dallas team is definitely clicking on a totally different cylinder. Well, I guess so is Tampa Bay as well. They are also on a different cylinder as well. We're used to seeing
one of the cylinders might be out of sync on the Tampa Bay engine, but
I think a couple of them. So
but it doesn't look like we're getting any more questions here. We appreciate all you guys for tuning in. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe and hit that bell notification so we can ping you guys every time we go live. We try to go live every Monday and Tuesday around 9:30, 10 p.m. Eastern. So go ahead and come on back next week for more content.